Hi, boys and girls. It's Miss Escamilla, and today is Thursday, April the 27th, and your homework tonight is to begin unlocking the problem on Module 16.2, which is problem solving elapsed time. Our essential question is, how can you use the strategy draw a diagram to solve elapsed time problems? Okay, and so elapsed, the word elapsed basically just means solving problems about time in which time has passed by or gone by. Okay, so elapsed just means an amount of time that has gone by or an amount of time that has passed. Okay, so looking at our very first problem, we're going to go ahead and start unlocking the problem. It's about Dora. And so in this problem, Dora and her brother Kyle spent 1 hour and 35 minutes doing yard work. Then they stopped for lunch at 1:20. At what time did they start doing yard work? We're going to use the graphic organizer to help us solve this problem right here. But I'm going to read the problem one more time so I can make sure I'm understanding what's being asked of us. So it says Dora and her brother Kyle spent 1 hour and 35 minutes doing yard work. Then they stopped for lunch at 1:20 p.m. At what time did they start doing yard work? Okay, so the first thing we want to find out is, well, what do I need to find in this problem? What's the question asking us to find out or to find? Okay, so I know that I need to find the time that Dora and Kyle started doing their yard work. So I need to find the time that Dora and Kyle started doing yard work. Okay, because that's what the question's asking us right here. At what time did they start doing yard work? Okay, well, let's think about what information that's been given to us. Okay, I am giving the blank and the time that they blank. Okay, so I'm given the amount of time that they actually spent doing yard work. So we're told that they spent 1 hour and 35 minutes doing yard work. And we're also given the time that they actually stopped for lunch, which was at 1:20 p.m. So I am given the amount of time spent doing yard work and the time that they actually stopped for lunch, or just that they stopped. Okay, so I can get a little bit more detailed and say that the amount of time that they spent doing yard work was 1 hour and 35 minutes, and that the time that they stopped was at 1:20 p.m. Okay, so our plan is going to be to decide on what strategy we're going to use to help us solve this problem. And so I know that in the essential question, it's asking us how could we draw a diagram to solve this problem. So this is our diagram right here. But as far as our plan goes, I think we're going to go ahead and use a strategy of drawing a timeline to help us solve this problem. Now, because we know what time they ended and we're trying to find out what time they started, that means we're going to have to go backwards in time, because we know the ending time and we don't know the start time. So we're going to have to go backwards in time. So we're going to draw a timeline to help us count backwards and to find the time, Dora started. Okay, so in our timeline, we know that she stopped at her and her brother, Dora and Kyle. Start. Okay, so we know that they stopped at 1:20. So we're going to draw we need to draw a number line that ends at 1:20. Okay, and I notice that this number line counts in 5-minute increments. So so here it's 11:45. That would be 11:50, 11:55, 12, 12:05, 12:10, 12:15. 12:20, 12:25, 12:30. It's counting in 5-minute increments. But at the end of the number line, we want to actually think about the time that they ended. They ended at 1:20. Okay. Now, because they spent an hour and 35 minutes doing yard work, I want to go ahead and go back the 1 hour. We know that they spent at least 1 hour and 35 minutes doing yard work. I'm going to go ahead and go back 1 hour. So if we're at 1:20 and we go back 1 hour, well, we'll count by fives until we get to 60, because we know that there's 60 minutes in an hour. So that would be 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. Okay, so here's the 1 hour mark. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead, and so I know personally myself, if we're at 1:20, 1 hour back exactly would be 12:20. So this is 12:20. Okay, now we need to go backwards the additional 35 minutes that they spent doing yard work, and we're going to count by fives. So if this is 12:20, then this would be 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35 minutes. So this is their start time right here. Okay, and so if we leave off at 12:20 and we're counting back in 5-minute increments, before 12:20 would be 12:15, 12:10, 12:05, 12 o'clock, 11:55, 11:50, and then 11:45. So Dora and Kyle and her brother Kyle started doing yard work at 11:45 a.m. Notice that my AM and the PM changed. They stopped at 1:20 p.m. Okay, but they started at 11:45 a.m. It doesn't become PM until noon at 12 o'clock. So when they're at 11:45, if we know 1:20 p.m. was the time they started, then 11:45 prior to that has to be AM or the morning time. Okay, let's skip this part and move on to the back, and let's work another problem. Okay, another problem where we are problem solving with elapsed time. So in this problem, Ben started riding his bike at 10:05 a.m. He stopped 23 minutes later when his friend Robbie asked him to play kickball. At what time did Ben stop riding his bike? Okay, let me read it one more time. Ben started riding his bike at 10:05 a.m. He stopped 23 minutes later when his friend Robbie asked him to play kickball. At what time did Ben stop riding his bike? Okay, so what do I need to find? Well, we need to find at what time did Ben stop riding his bike. So I need to find at what time Ben stopped riding his bike. Okay, well, what information am I given? Well, I know that he started riding his bike at 10:05 a.m. I also know that he stopped 23 minutes later. Okay. So the plan to solve this problem is we're going to create a number line, which has already been created for us. We're going to use a number line. And instead of counting backwards like we did in the first problem, we're actually going to count forward, because we know his start time, which would be over here, but we don't know his end time. That's what the question's asking us. At what time did he stop riding his bike? That's the end time. So we're going to use a number line to count forward the amount of time to count forward. Okay, so this is his starting point. At 10:05 is when he started. And I notice that it's counting in 5-minute intervals or increments. 10:05, 10:10, 10:15, 10:20. Oh, those are 5-minute increments. So that tells me that the little lines in between must be 1-minute intervals. So 10:01, 10:02. I'm sorry, if that's 10:05, let me start that over. If that's 10:05, this would be 10:06, 10:07, 10:08, 10:09, 10:10, and so on and so forth. So I know that if he went for 23 minutes later, I want to stop here and go forward 23 minutes. So I'm going to start by, to me, the smartest way would be to make 5-minute jumps first. So this would be a 5-minute jump. This would be a 10-minute jump. This would be a 15-minute jump. And then this would be a 20-minute jump. But he went for 23 minutes. So now I need to start counting by 1-minute interval. So if this was 20 minutes, this would be 21 minutes, 22 minutes, and then this is where he would have stopped, which would be at 23 minutes. Okay? So if at 20 minutes it was 10:25 a.m., then 23 minutes would be 10:26, 10:27, and then 10:28. So he stopped at 10:28 a.m. Still a.m. because it hasn't turned to 12 yet. Okay, so our answer on this problem was that he stopped riding his bike at 10:28 a.m. Okay, so that's all you needed to do tonight, was just to watch the video, fill in the information. Tomorrow we're going to spend a little bit more time practicing a couple more problems together, and then you'll be expected to complete a few problems on your own. I hope y'all have a great evening. Bye.